G'day guys and welcome, my name's Michael and I am the DeadAussieGamer, here to share with you my tips, tricks, ideas and strategies for playing and running tabletop role-playing games. Happy Halloween, and in celebration of course of the festive season, I'm going to be going into and explaining one of the character archetypes from pretty much my favorite all-time horror novel. That is of course The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I love characters with multiple personalities, but by far it is the most challenging and difficult characters to try and portray. So today I'm just going to be going over pretty much what types of multiple personality characters there are and what you can do to portray them. So let's start by talking types. What kind of characters in role-playing games are going to have multiple personalities? Well, first of all, what you need to understand is that there are two predominant types of multiple personality characters. The first is ones that trigger off a stimulus, and the other that trigger spontaneously. Now, those that trigger spontaneously are very difficult to perform. I do not recommend anyone who does not have at least some training or understanding in performance work to ever try a spontaneously triggering multiple personality character. What it basically is it's where the character switches from one personality to another at the drop of a hat. It's almost as if both personalities can pretty much be at any given point at any given time. This means you are effectively playing two characters all the time, or more if you're playing like 3 or 4 personalities. But let's not go there. A great example of this is the fantastic monologue from The Two Towers by Smeagol Gollum. So, I'm just going to read it out because I love this one. Sam and Frodo are sleeping. It is nighttime and Frodo sleeps while holding the ring in his hand. Gollum looks at them and is sitting next to some pillars.
We wants it. We needs it. We must have the precious. They stole it from us. Sneaky little hobbitses. Wicked, tricksy, false. No, not master. Yes, precious. False. They'll cheat you. They will hurt you. Lie. Master's my friend. You don't have any friends. No one likes you. Not listening. You're a liar and a thief. No. Murderer. Go away. I hate you. Where would you be without me, Gollum? I saved us. It was me. We survived because of me. Not anymore. What did you say? Master looks after us now. We don't need you. What? Leave now and never come back. No. Leave now and never come back. No! Leave now and never come back. Leave now and never come back. We told him to go away, and he goes away, precious. Gone. Smeagol is free.
Now look, I'm not Andy Serkis, but you know, I had a little bit of Dobby in there, but yeah, you get the idea. The switch between these two is easy when I've got a script in front of me, but when you're trying to do it on the fly and when you're trying to improv, that's tough. That's a really hard sell, and I don't recommend it. The second type, the trigger type, requires a kind of stimulus, which will allow your character to switch from one personality to another. This could be something like the full moon transforming your character into a werewolf. This could be a potion brewed up and concocted to allow you to access your inner nutty professor and suddenly become charming and suave and sexy. Perhaps, of course, it's a survival mechanism. Somebody smacks you and emotions start to rise. Your anger begins to take over and your body boils with rage. These are great triggers. But at any given point, you as a performer or as a role player are only ever portraying one character at a time. This is going to reduce the strain on you greatly and make it so much easier for you to be able to build and establish tangible and good relationships with the other players at the table. Alright, so we've talked about triggers. Some character ideas. Here are some examples of origins. Because having multiple personalities is not just something you flip on, you know? It's not like saying, oh, cool, I'm going to play someone with pointy ears. It's something that is going to affect and impact your character's story from start to finish. The major archetypes of the story are as follows. You have two conflicting personalities that are at odds at each other, fighting for control. You have two personalities who get along really well and actually almost complement each other. You have the third option, which are the two personalities don't get along, but they actually complement each other and allow each other to work well. Allow me to give you an example. Two personalities that do not work well together would be something along the lines of Smeagol and Gollum. While Smeagol and Gollum as individual characters are perfectly adequate, the two can't coexist because they want different things. They strive for different things. While they both want the ring, it's still different. They still differ on a lot of opinions on how to go about getting it, what they should do, and how they should be. At least, in that monologue that I was explaining. The second is two that complement each other, one that works off the other. A good example of this is the personality of Caitlin Snow from the CW series The Flash, where the two personalities work well. One is a doctor and a forensics biologist, and the other is a lunatic who has really good survival instincts. This allows one to protect the other, and they kind of have a sisterly bond. The third, which is where they don't get along, but they are a necessity, would be something along the lines of, say, Bruce Banner and the Hulk, where Bruce Banner doesn't want the Hulk to be around. He hates the Hulk, and the Hulk hates Bruce Banner. But when Bruce is in trouble, the Hulk shows up. And of course, Bruce himself has gotten the Hulk out of more than one or two scrapes, allowing his intelligence to guide the monstrosity in the right direction. So these character archetypes need to define your story. I mean, there are obviously variations to that, and they sway in many, many in different ways. But in essence, that's what you want to build. Maybe your character is possessed by a demon, and they're starting to hear those demonic voices. Maybe your character has concocted a potion to push their personality back and allow a more confident one to emerge. But what if that confident one gained its own self-awareness? This and many more are just some examples of character origins that build up that story. Once you've gotten that, though, you want to then look at growth for that story. You want to look at not only the relationship between the two personalities, but each personality and the people at the table. By doing so, you create a very complex social network of people, some who will like one personality but hate the other, and others who will like the other personality and hate the opposing one. Allowing this kind of evolution is fun and engaging if you can do it well. If you can compartmentalize and really make that strong distinction, then you're going to have a great and fantastic time. But how do we make that distinction? Let's talk about some performance stuff now. So, the first thing that I'd say if you were playing a character with multiple personalities, performance-wise, is look at your posture. How are you sitting? How are you acting? What are you being? For my characters that have multiple personalities, I usually have a prop or a gesture, something that I will do in order to indicate that I am one personality. For a particular character that I was playing, I had a character who was in an insane asylum and communicated his more confident thoughts through the use of a doll. This doll was a ventriloquist dummy, and it was kind of based off Scarface from the Batman comics, and he would literally talk about all of his inner demons. So this guy would basically just walk around with this puppet, and the puppet would cast spells and help the party. So whenever I was talking myself, he would just talk through me. Whenever he was talking through the voice, the hand would start moving. So if I said, okay, so I walk into a room and I say, bartender, could I please have a drink? 2 drinks. 2 drinks. And one with a sippy straw? I don't want no sippy straw. What do you mean you don't want a sippy straw? I don't want a sippy straw. Well, if you didn't want a sippy straw, why'd you ask for the one in the last place? Well, because I didn't want to look like a loser. Okay. And just that little tiny physicalization without the use of, fancy voices, that helps build that distinction. Another thing could be simply maybe one of them is a smoker. So when you start to speak, it's like, okay, cool. So we go to bed for the night. My character's on watch. When you wake up, he's sitting on a rock. Who are you? What do you want? Nick off. I know you think I'm supposed to be watching out for it. What do you want me to watch for? It's dark. God. You know, changing the personality type is usually strong enough that you'll be able to see the distinction. But those little physical gestures, they help. The second and the most obvious one is voices. Different voices always help. If you want to do a different voice, try to use one as your just main, like, you know, primary voice, something that you're comfortable speaking in. And then your second, whichever one you use less, something that you might have a bit of difficulty with. With a barbarian, for example, I am Koron the Barbarian, and I am here to tell you that I am going to smite each and every one of you. Once I begin my rage dance. No decided order. Me am Grognak. Me smash you good. You know, for example, even though that voice might be hard to do, it might be, Gorgak not want leave? Why Gorgak always here when battle? Gorgak want cupcake! Arr! You know, playing around with those personalities with different voices can be a lot of fun. And that, I think, is one of the things that attracts a lot of people to playing characters with multiple personalities. But I highly recommend, you know, if you do, and you just want to do the voices, don't. I mean, I know that's terrible. Always have that good story. Because having a voice is a gimmick, and you don't want to turn a multiple personality character into a gimmick. Otherwise, they wear down so quick. Like, I mean, like 1 or 2 games, and that's it. Because there's only so long your players, or the other players, are going to sit down and watch one person just talk to themselves. Or just cause problems because every single time something happens, we need to get 2 opinions from the same person, you know. So just bear that in mind if you're playing a multiple personality character and you have multiple voices. Don't make it the main thing about your character. All right. So, story time. I played a character with multiple personalities a long time ago, and I did an awful job, I'm going to be honest. It was before I used my ventriloquist character. My ventriloquist character was actually a lot of fun. People got kind of annoyed, I guess, but that was really funny because they were annoyed at the puppet, but that's a different story. This story is about a character that I made called Grundy. He was an alchemist and a plague doctor. We were playing in a game where there was a huge zombie apocalypse. Everything was kind of, you know, terrible and being ripped to shreds and stuff like that. And it was a like sort of air-based contagion. Everyone was dying. My character, however, was found by a group of adventurers experimenting on zombies. The reason my character was experimenting on zombies was because he was suffering from multiple personality disorder, but the other voice was always talking to him. So the other people outside couldn't hear that other voice, so I would only ever do the dialogue for my side of the conversation, which meant that when I was role-playing with myself a lot. No, listen, no, I don't, yeah, I know that's what you think. Look, check out his ventral artery, it's clearly decayed. Yeah, okay, fine, I'll have a look. But don't tell me if I didn't warn you. I mean, like, look, the black ichor has permeated through most of this person's central nervous system. I can't just guarantee that that's going to be... What? Use the... No, I don't have one. I left it in the other bag. Well, why didn't you get it? Oh, yeah, like, you always use that excuse. You know, which, entertaining in little bits, but because it was several games, it was not fun for the other players. Anyway, the long story short is his character goal, which everyone liked, was that he wanted to find a zombie and implant that other voice into the body of a zombie and then have that become another person and then walk off so that I didn't have to live with that condition anymore. It was a very interesting character concept, but it was one that I portrayed, I think, really poorly. Because one thing I looked at more than anything else was I'm playing a multiple personality character. I'm focused so heavily on me. All of me, each and every aspect, that I forgot that the game was about other people. That it was about trying to engage and try and do stuff with the others in the group. I was so obsessed by having chats with this other voice, I wasn't talking to the other people at the table. So naturally, the character became rather unliked. The GM basically turned around and said, this isn't really working, and he had to be retired, which I understand. You know, it definitely and absolutely made perfect sense for it. Since then, I've played several other multiple personality characters, and the one thing I've always told myself, before anything else, what relationship do each personality have with the other members of the group? Alright guys, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope it was useful for you. If you've played multiple personality characters, let us know in the chat below. How did it go? Obviously you as a GM, if you've played not multiple characters simultaneously, but if you've played a single character with multiple personalities, let us know about your experiences as well. How did you go? How did your players find it? And of course, be sure to check out all of the links in the description below. And if you want to support the Dead Aussie Gamer, head on over to our Patreon page, where for as little as a cup of coffee a month, you can help us keep the lights on here. Till next time, guys, as always, game hard or die trying. See ya!